Hello, Chicago. Welcome to your Tuesday night edition of Chicago Corner. I am your host tonight, Kira Macoun, and I am super excited to bring you tonight's show. We got some good news, we got some not so good news. It's a real mixed bag tonight. And if you were concerned that I paid for this haircut, don't worry, I didn't. My husband cut my hair right before the show, and there's an accidental bracer stripe now in my head. But that's okay. That's okay. We can pretend like it was completely on purpose. So if anybody was concerned, no worries. It was not a paid for haircut. With me tonight, as always, is Mr. Jerry Vasilatos. Welcome, Jerry. Thank you for joining me. Like you usually do on Tuesday, it's always nice to be able to have a conversation with you about what's going on in our fair city. How are you doing tonight?
It's always a pleasure to join you. And I will say that your haircut's fine. It beats whoever's cutting Ryan Grimm's hair.
I'll have to look at his hair. Is it a bad haircut? I haven't seen him.
A horrible haircut. He hosts, thanks, Oreo. He just got rid of my screen. Yeah, he hosts Rising on the Hill.
That's right. That's right.
Jimmy and the rest of us refer to him as Ryan Grimjob. But yeah, he looks like he puts a bowl on his head and just kind of cuts around. I don't want to shame the guy, but seriously, I think he can afford to have a regular hairstylist instead of doing it at home in a mirror.
To be fair, I could probably afford one too. It's just I hate going to the store.
You know what? Honestly, Kira, you look great. It doesn't. I'm not noticing anything out of the ordinary, but I do know we're always our own worst critics. I did the Can TV show tonight in the studio and noticed in previous Can TV shows, I've literally got a headlight on the top of my head because of the studio lights. So I went and got myself a little bottle of Topic. Because that's just how vain I am, so I understand.
We do for vanity, am I right? Well, I had decided I don't know what I want to do with my hair. I used to have short hair before the pandemic, and I used to get it cut every 5 to 6 weeks, and it was a whole thing. And then I just got used to not doing anything, and I kind of liked it, and so kind of that's where I am. And so tonight I was like, Mark, will you just buzz this off or something? I just need to get rid of it, and this is what the result is. So.
I literally had the Grizzly Adams look going on during the pandemic where I wasn't coloring my hair, I wasn't shaving, and I didn't mind the look, but I'm like, I can't keep looking at this in the mirror all the time. It makes me feel old. So I resorted to, my little indulgences at Supercuts with the hair coloring to try to take 20 years off. And it really does. It matters how we feel about ourselves. If we've got youthful spirits, you've got a youthful spirit. I do. I just don't always look it, so I have to do extra maintenance to reflect it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we do what we can here on Chicago Corner. Okay. And I want to welcome in one more of our co-hosts. We don't want to forget about Mr. Chicago Pizza himself, Ed Heller. What's up?
Hey, Kira. Oh, that's a pretty cool aerodynamic racing stripe you got there.
Yes! Tanya! I thought that's a part. Wait, is that actually was it cut in, or I thought that's just a part?
So he went to trim.
It. But it looks good though. I see my nephews get that kind of racing stripe thing in their haircuts. So
it looks like they did it on purpose.
Yeah, it does kind of look like it's on purpose. So
yeah, so go with it. We're like everyone here in the live chat and everyone watching at home. Kira did it on purpose.
It's totally, and I paid a lot
of money intentional, for it. And it looks cool.
And I am very hip now. So
you were always very hip.
Just to be clear. Well, thank you. Well, cool, guys. Well, I'm excited to dive into some of these stories. This first story really, it kind of hit home for me quite a bit because I've always been in sort of and we all have in a huge struggle when it comes to our healthcare industry, having been living the majority of my adult life without any health insurance and the ramifications that come with that. And now we've got now we've got a word that some of our health insurance in Illinois might actually be going up in price once the market opens in November. So let me fill you in on the details of that. Illinois residents who buy health insurance through the Affordable Care Act exchange will likely see prices rise for next year, in some cases by double-digit percentages. 10 Illinois insurance companies that sell plans on the exchange at healthcare.gov are proposing average rate increases of about 3% to nearly, get this, 16% increases for plans for 2023. You guys, I don't know who can take that kind of a price hike right now, personally.
I got to tell you, like on my end, maybe I lost my leg 36 years ago to care, so I don't have to deal with this kind of these kind of extreme rate increases. I mean, those who are on Medicare, whether you're disabled or you're a senior or a veteran, it's a system that works. And this is why we were, screaming we weren't screaming with our hairs on fire, but when we went to the March for Medicare for All in Chicago last week, that's what I got up and spoke about. The fact that we need Medicare for all. It works. I don't care what anybody says. We are so indoctrinated into thinking that a for-profit healthcare system is normal and acceptable in this country. People in other countries look at us and they're like, why aren't you all rising up in revolution over this? We would never tolerate or put up with this from our governments when healthcare is a right. It's a fundamental right of just respect and taking care of people, and literally, creating an environment whereby if people are healthier, they can work, right? If people don't have these exorbitant bills, they're not going to go into bankruptcy, lose their homes. It's just, good health is so important to preventing so many other problems. And this is a socially Darwinistic society in the United States that has no goddamn regard. Here I go, starting up early.
Here we go.
For the dignity or rights of people. So yeah, it's crazy.
It is. It's wild. And so when I read that there were going to be price hikes, I just immediately, my heart sank. The state's largest health insurer, which is Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois, is proposing an average rate increase of 5.3%, and they're at the lowest. Celtic Insurance Company, which sells plans called Ambetter, is proposing an average rate increase of 13.7%, and Healthcare of Illinois is proposing an average rate increase of nearly 16% right now. So nearly 230,000 Illinois residents have individual Affordable Care Act plans through Blue Cross. And Blue Cross Blue Shield Illinois is the one recommending the lowest, which is 5.3% increase, while in 2021 they brought in $2.1 billion in profit and paid their CEO around $7 million.
This is such a crock of shit.
Exactly. So 54,000 people could be affected by the rate change from the Celtic Ambetter insurance, and 5,500 with United Healthcare. So virtually everybody who is buying their plans from the
health exchanges. And I'll give this to constitutional conservative. Exactly what people said what happened with Obamacare. Yeah, which was based on Mitt Romney's Republican system. Just wanted to give you a little reminder, constitutional conservative.
Yeah. Just to be clear, we're all very clear on the fact that Obama was not a progressive.
No.
Let's get real clear on that.
And let's also be clear that the Affordable Care Act, which everybody calls Obamacare now, like Jerry said, was based on Romney Care. It has always been a Band-Aid on the existing for-profit healthcare system. And the reality is insurance is not healthcare.
No,
insurance. It's parasitic vampires is what it's about. It's a system by which people get rich on other people's misery. They're parasites and vampires, and we enable elected officials enable system because they're getting the kick.
The entire business model of health insurance is to take your payments and try not to cover anything that they can. They want to not pay for your procedures. They want to not pay for your health care. They just want to keep your premiums, and they want to keep your deductibles, and they want to pay as little as possible, and they want to make you pay as much as possible.
Because it's got to go to those CEOs that Kira just mentioned a moment ago. CEO salaries and bonuses.
Yeah, our nation should be up in arms. We should not have to pay a monthly fee for healthcare, and then on top of that, have to pay a deductible. Other countries have not even heard of deductibles.
Mm-mm.
You have to reach a certain amount of money in your healthcare before the insurance company will pay a percentage of the rest.
Yep.
While trying to deny you while trying to deny you what you're owed.
Who in their right mind would find that acceptable? People are just used to it because over the decades that's how it's been. It needs to stop.
It's indoctrination, Ed. It's indoctrination.
Yeah, it's bonkers.
This story right here about insurance companies wanting to raise their rates. How about no? How about we do something else?
Yeah.
How about we cut you out entirely from the process?
Yep.
I want to share something Ilhan shared in the chat, which is very sad. Nothing I can say is going to change anything. Just my heart goes out to you and your brother. He shares his brother lost his job because he got sick. My brother has stage 4 pancreatic cancer. His job told him to reapply when he gets better. You don't get better from pancreatic cancer. My brother's godfather died from pancreatic cancer. My uncle John had pancreatic cancer. My friend Richard Hatch passed from pancreatic cancer. That any boss, any employer would tell any employee to reapply when they get better. Look, we've got sociopaths in all levels of society, especially those managing our workforces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and most people in Illinois get their health insurance through either their employer or government programs. So you imagine that if employers are willing to say, hey, why don't you reapply when you're better, then that insurance is not guaranteed either.
Of course not.
It's a crock of shit,
yep.
Right? And so we follow all the rules. We do everything we're supposed to do,
like 42.
and we're still not taken care of. So my brother's 42 years old. Yeah, sorry to hear that. That's
sorry, man.
Not cool. Yeah, so this year, a 21-year-old, for example, non-smoker living in Cook County pays about $242 a month before any kind of subsidies. And 85% of people who buy plans through the exchange get subsidies, according to Kaiser Family Foundation. And then President Joe Biden signed a bill into law making those subsidies more generous for people and expanding the number of people. Oh, this is so stupid. We already would save trillions of dollars with universal health care, and it would cover everyone. So we would save money and we would cover everybody. And now instead, what we do is we pay taxpayer money to subsidize $7 million CEO pay. So these insurance companies can fuck off. Because that is literally what we're paying for. We're paying for the bureaucracy of them and then CEO and executive pay, because people got to get paid, right? And then, inside of really getting as much profits out as they can out of their model, it isn't in their best interest to cover people fully or to do what's best for someone's health, like maybe preventative measures. Maybe people should be having, getting subsidies in regard to their wellness instead of just, patching up symptoms of big issues that maybe can be stopped ahead of time. But we don't have that kind of forward thinking because we can only look 3 months in front of us when it comes to doing anything.
I'm becoming more and more of the school of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Or in the mall.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, I was I did the national show with Kit tonight, and at the end of the show, I just didn't have any Kit's like any other thoughts. I'm like, no, man, I'm literally falling into a existential nihilistic crisis regarding how do we get things to change aside from what Ilhan suggests.
Well,
Ilhan
is correct. The lava-based solutions are what's going
Yep.
to save us.
Yep.
And from my perspective, that's metaphorical. The point being that our representatives, if they ever represented us, it's been a long time since they ever did. They only see the dollar signs in their corporate donors, and they need new versions of leverage. They need to be afraid of us.
Got a quick question for Constipational Conservative in the live chat. Where's Bernie Sanders on universal health care? He chairs the finance committee. I don't know, Constipational Conservative. What is your side suggesting? All Republicans, conservatives, we're not happy with the progressives. We're not happy with how Democrats and quote unquote progressives have abandoned us. But you know what? Come to the live chat with some suggestions. What's your solution? Instead of the, it's all the Democrats' faults. Really? I'll say this. At least they proposed something, even if it wasn't enough. I don't know what the Republicans want to take that away. So I don't know where you're coming from as far as, thinking that it's all about blaming the Democrats for not doing enough, when I don't see the Republicans or conservatives offering any goddamn solutions aside from more insurance companies.
They're higher prices for drugs.
It's
really.
A duopoly. They're working together. Sorry to interrupt, Kira.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
No, and you're totally right, Ed. And I think that we see them playing this it's like a volley back and forth. Like, whose fault is it that everybody is really desperate? No, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. No, you stop. No, you stop. Right?
Well, the tribal mentality. It's like, hey, look, Democrats or those who used to be Democrats or used to identify as progressives, we've owned it. We're calling out our side. What are the Republicans doing? Nothing.
It's a great point, Jerry, and that's why you see so many people on the left splintering and dividing, because we are seeing that our leadership on the Democratic side, which is supposed to be our side, is not doing anything, and they're actually working against their own agenda. And yes, Pat, you're right. Biden did promise a public option.
Yep.
He promised a lot of things that he didn't do.
Mm-hmm.
He does that. He's a liar just like the rest of them.
Bingo.
It's not like we couldn't see it coming with Biden. Everybody forgot he passed the crime bill. Everybody forgot what a horrible representative Biden was, because now he's all old and grandfatherly. Jack, here's the thing. Let's do push-ups. I got grand ideas. He's a puppet now. And what's funny about Biden is that as much as we know what a loathsome ghoul that he is, people think because he's got this persona of an old grandfatherly type that's kind of what he's not. That's a persona. He turns that on in public. When we've seen him snap at reporters asking questions, that's the real Joe Biden we've had a history of watching through all of his public service, who protected his son, Hunter, and passed these horrible bills and laws that we're still, reeling from. Was it with Judge? He showed his colors back with Thomas and Anita Hill.
Oh, yep, he certainly did. Absolutely. Biden's one of the best Republicans on their side. Yep.
There you go. He is.
Hey, have you seen my keys? I'm looking for my keys.
Seen my keys?
Yeah, he's just a grumpy old man. Absolutely.
Who has no control over the drinker of the house, who's over in Taiwan right now, poking a hornet's nest to represent corporations in Taiwan and their interests, not recognizing we could literally see the same kind of situation happen with China and Taiwan that we saw with Russia and the Ukraine. Mm-hmm. Okay? Even though Taiwan is a quote-unquote sovereign territory, it's still part of China, the way Russia considers Ukraine is part of that sphere of the world. And that we got a absolutely impotent, useless president like Biden allowing the drinker of the house to do whatever she wants. What does that show the world? Well, I tell you what it shows the world community, just going off on a real tangent really quickly. It's that either he's totally for it or he's completely useless and has no leash on her, as she's supposed to represent the United States of America. She's off serving her own ego and her own, what she wants to leave behind of her legacy at the expense of possibly igniting, another problem with another world superpower for the rest of us. It's just this is what fuels my nihilistic existential crisis. What can we do?
And we see with these sorts of what's the prognostication?
Yes, they are
looking for. What we see with that is where their priorities lie, right? And they're certainly not in the realm of American wellness and healthcare.
Here's the problem.
I saw a constitutional conservative.
Okay. Healthcare should not be a competitive free market issue. Okay? We cannot afford. It's overpriced to begin with, constitutional conservative. Your solutions that are rooted in the free market are horseshit. Sorry. This should not be a competitive marketplace. Every other industrialized nation in the world has fucking figured it out so that their people can all have health care. And for those that argue, well, they have to wait for their health care in other countries. When was the last time you, constitutional conservative, had to have something looked at that was a specialized area of healthcare? And how long did it take you to get that appointment? I happen to remember a couple years ago, because I know constitutional conservative, with some healthcare issues that they had and how long they had to wait. So don't give me this bullshit. It's that's what would happen in the U.S. It's already happening.
Yeah. Well, and
we're paying through the nose for it.
Just last week, my nearly 80-year-old father-in-law fell, busted his head, needed stitches. They got Cadillac insurance. And I woke up 4 hours later in the middle of the night because my husband went to go be with him, and he still wasn't there. And he was there for two more hours. It's like, yeah, they waited in the waiting room for several hours, even with great healthcare, even in an emergency situation, even with a very fragile old person. So
yeah.
We're not doing great.
No, I shared a story last year. I know we were in the middle of the pandemic, but I took a friend to the ER who was having vomiting fits, and it took them 8 hours to triage her. I mean, endless vomiting fits. Like over the course of 8 hours, they couldn't even find a unit to just have her be able to lie prone, so she wasn't seated up in a wheelchair, hunched over, retching for 8 hours on and off straight. Crazy. Yeah, I'm sorry, dude. Healthcare is not like fucking car insurance. This is like.
Can I take this one, Jerry?
Please,
I want to take this one. Okay. I was going to hit on this before Constitutional Conservative even posted this. It's not government-run healthcare. The only thing the government does in the national healthcare system is pay the freaking bill. You go to see whatever doctor you need to see. The government doesn't interfere in that. All they do is cut a check to the people who are in the medical facility that you're using. You can go see anybody you need to see. Your health care is paid for. That's it.
And they negotiate the rates. That's what Medicare does. I pay a deductible. It's not outrageous, and it doesn't bankrupt me. Okay? So, for example, my prosthetic limb, that's probably about a $25,000 to $28,000 list price. So what it would cost me. Medicare paid for most of it. My deductible on it was $7,000 that I paid over time. Still it's a considerable amount of money. But can you imagine if I'd had to pay for that? It's a price that's more than a new car.
Yeah.
For the privilege of walking so I can be a useful member of society. I'm not, and there are many other amputees that have to fight with their regular insurance providers that are denied Medicare. And there are a lot of disabled people who should rightfully get Medicare, and they're denied it. They have to fight. Meanwhile, they can't get jobs because whether it's a lower limb prosthetic limb or an upper limb prosthetic limb, it's just an absolutely what's the word that I'm looking for is
wait a minute, but who is healthcare being run by now? Not bureaucrats, not like people who work
you're just posting a whole bunch of wrong.
Yeah,
you were not told this about Obamacare. You were not told this about Obamacare.
It's cruel. That's what I was. The word I was looking for.
It was Medicare for all, which was never put into practice. That is where they didn't even go as far as paying for everything in the plan that they had, because we had all the jerks in Congress who don't know how federal spending works asking, how are you going to pay for that? Well, that's not how federal spending works. If Congress wanted to pay for something and the resources exist, they cut a check. That's it. That's all there is to it. And you can't argue that that's not how it works, because we got a running total of $8 billion that have currently gone to Ukraine for basically target practice for Russia, because basically all they're doing is dropping bombs on the munitions as they arrive.
And let me
giveaway to the military-industrial complex for this stupid proxy war.
Let me also add, when I mentioned before what a prosthetic limb costs, with Medicare negotiating the rate with the company that's providing the services, what costs Medicare $27,000 to cover would cost a private insurance company probably $35,000 to $40,000 to cover, because they can get away with overbilling. Prosthetic limb should not cost that much, especially when you consider the fact most modern prosthetics were funded with research from our government to aid our veterans who've lost limbs. So let's break it down. We pay all these prosthetic companies, the government pays them an exorbitant amount of money to create top-of-the-line prosthetic limbs for the sake of helping our veterans. And then those prosthetic companies that got all those government subsidies to develop those limbs for veterans then turn around and charge regular people who are not veterans, taxpayers, $35,000 to get a prosthetic limb that was developed with taxpayer government-funded research money.
Yep, there
okay?
you go.
That's your fucking free market system, conservative, constitutional conservative.
You guys are best friends. I love it.
You know what's crazy, Kira? I also have to
not
share
getting it.
No, he's
Still
not
getting how federal spending works.
Yeah.
Still thinks that everything is government run.
Yeah.
The government pays for the bills. That's it. Doctors make the decisions on what procedures get done. You go to see whoever you want to see. It's not like your little capitalist bootlicking mind has thought it out to be. And yeah, the USPS is damaged because a bunch of jerks in Congress who don't want government to work have intentionally sabotaged that organization. You want United States Postal Service to work, you could start by pressuring everybody, including the president, to and the board of governors at the United States Postal Service to fire Louis DeJoy and prosecute him for tampering with the United States Postal Service.
But you know what?
Literally destroyed sorting machines.
Yep.
Ed,
Absolutely. Emptied the facilities of them. Come on.
It's in my view, that's treason.
It is. We have to, I don't know, I guess be gentle with constitutional conservative. This is what happens to someone who listens. This is what happens to someone who listens to Mark Levin the rest of the day.
You don't get to be the arbiter of what's good and right based on the Constitution. You know, we also were familiar with that document and all of the amendments and all of those other things. You can't just be like, oh, well, because I'm on the right and I watch cable news and some jerkwad told me that everything terrible has happened because of big government, that it's true. You got to wash your brain out, dude. You just got to.
You've heard of
Salt water is really good, I'm told.
You've heard of Terminator, right? In private life, I refer to constitutional conservative as the instigator. Because this is all entertainment for him. He's actually, it's weird because he's actually got a good heart, but it's poisoned by listening to Mark Levin all the time. I just don't understand it, the disconnect.
Once again, he's confusing health insurance with health care.
Yeah.
So I'm not even going to post that up on the screen.
Right.
We can move on from it. He's made his point, and I think we've made ours.
Yeah, and I actually very much prefer having this kind of conversation anyway, even if it is, even if it's confrontational. We need to have these conversations because there are clearly people who have a different viewpoint on how insurance works.
He says we can agree to disagree. Yes, you're entitled to your wrong opinions.
Right, absolutely.
Yes, Ilhanna, our Constitution was founded on business, don't you know?
And there are a lot of things in our original documents that were not included.
Yeah.
That now need to be included because of progress.
And remember, they granted slavery.
Technically, that's still legal if you're in prison.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yep.
It's not confrontational. Well, I don't feel a charge, and I don't think anybody else really does. But it is.
Look,
it is.
Here's my challenge to you.
So
Here's my challenge to you.
Confrontation.
Here's my challenge to you. If you are in doubt of a national healthcare system working, travel somewhere that isn't the United States that has a national healthcare service. You could go to Canada. It's not that far. And then try to get yourself some healthcare, and then see how much easier and less expensive it is to get a healthcare service in another country. Then come back and tell us that we don't have a shit show here in the United States with healthcare.
No, other countries that have healthcare think that we are cuckoo for what we do, and we kind of are. So, all of this is obviously not happening in a vacuum. People are struggling now. It's how I introed the story, right? We have all of these prices rising. And we also know, as an organization and as a community, that we're also not seeing, raises in our income. And just recently, the National Low Income Housing Report was released, and I wanted to share what it was looking like in our fair state of Illinois. I hope this works.
Is this the second article? You got it? Okay.
Huzzah. I kind of switched around the second and third article. They're still all in the first story here, this big conglomeration of a story. But yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about the fair market rent for a 2-bedroom apartment in Illinois being $1,186. And so according to National Low Income Housing Report here, which they release every year, without paying more than 30% of income on housing, a household has to earn nearly $4,000 monthly or $47,434 annually. So assuming a 40-hour work week is 52 weeks per year, this is the level of income that translates into hourly housing wage. So we would need $22.80 hourly in order to hit that 30% of income on housing for a 2-bedroom apartment. What I love about this report is they really break things down in an awesome way. So 76 hours of work per week, minimum wage to afford a 2-bedroom apartment at our present wage of $12, right? And then 64 work hours per week at minimum wage to afford a 1-bedroom rental home. And these are the numbers: 1.9 full-time jobs and 1.6 full-time jobs in order to afford those various different kinds of apartments. And then, of course, depending on where you live in the state of Illinois, you will have varying degrees of how much you would need to make minimally to survive in that housing market. So if we know that our minimum wage is $12, and we also know that it is going up right now. In fact, I don't even know that $12 is correct personally. I think it might be 13. But it is going up right now. And in the city of Chicago, it's $15.40, and it must be 12 in the state of Illinois. Okay, that's where my confusion was coming from. But regardless, $15 isn't enough when you're requiring $25, and $12 is certainly not enough when you're requiring $22 for the bare minimum. So, this increase of up to 16% on our health insurance, I think, is going to really crush a lot of people if that happens. And we know what that means, right? That means that people will be foregoing their health and all of the things that make them whole and complete as a worker, as a citizen, as a voter. And this is the direction that I see us going in perpetuity, because we don't have anybody putting on the brakes of this massive divide that's getting created between what people are able to do and what is necessary. So what do you guys have to say about that?
Yeah, I think the 2280 there is a bit low. I think
Yeah.
that's an extremely conservative number,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think it's realistic.
No, it's not.
It needs to
When you
be
consider
higher.
how high the cost of living is now. Taxes out of our asses. I was at the grocery store the other day, and I think we talked about this once before. I'm looking at my receipt, and it's like, why am I being taxed for food? This
We
is a
shouldn't be.
necessity. No, yeah.
Some states don't do it. Illinois just happens to be one that does.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
I think they
absolutely.
actually, I think they did actually suspend it though.
In Illinois?
really?
No, they
In
didn't.
Illinois.
They didn't suspend the food. No, and
I
not
thought
when I
they
was
suspended the food tax for like a year or
the
something.
gas tax. I think it was.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
the
have to
gas
double check.
tax I had
All right.
heard, but yeah,
Well,
cheddar
I'm
is
still being.
taxed.
I was still being taxed at my grocery store. I looked at the. Well, maybe I was looking at federal. Well, federal, state. There shouldn't be any goddamn taxes on a grocery bill. But
Well,
anyway.
and something else that people may be able to relate to, is, an article that you shared, Ed, is that in a poll of
Yeah.
near 3,500 adults, 61% of respondents said that they are presently living paycheck to paycheck. And that's up from 55% a year ago. So again, we see that spread, we see that divide taking place between what is people are capable of and what's necessary for them to survive. The biggest rise in paycheck to paycheck consumers involve those earning between $100,000 and $150,000, up to 11 percentage points from May.
Okay, yeah. As of July 1st, the Illinois suspended its 1% grocery tax
Okay.
for
Well,
a year.
So I'm looking at federal taxes on the grocery receipt then.
That doesn't, but Chicago has its own taxes.
Oh, so then there's the okay. So we're still being taxed. So wait, we get Chicago, Illinois, and federal tax. 3 taxes on all of our purchases. This is how it breaks down. I think.
Plus, I'm told somebody snuck in a beverage tax, which I'm getting mildly irritated by.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So in the U.S., 45,000 people die each year due to a lack of insurance. I know a lot of the pro-life people are really up in arms about it. I'm sure of it.
Sure they are.
I hear them all over the internet and the YouTube, and really, really raising their. Oh no, wait, never mind. No, they don't give a shit. Forgot.
No.
And one, and
Nor will all those pro-lifers provide services to support those kids once they're out of a mother's womb.
Yeah.
Suddenly, that's when they forget about how pro-life they were. I'm not going to give them their entitlements. I'm not going to give them. Oh, where is it here? Here it is. Wait. Here. Yeah. Right. We need all these taxes to pay for all the goodies people demand from their government. Remember? No. The taxes aren't going where they're supposed to go. Constipational conservative.
That's right.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Absolutely, we have that. We have.
And we also have to understand that there is a difference between federal taxation and state and local taxation.
Mm-hmm.
State and local taxes actually do pay for things. Federal taxes get destroyed on receipt. You're basically just paying to give value to money. That's the short version of that. On the local taxation, what the problem we have in Illinois, other than the corruption and the money not going where it needs to go, is that we had a progressive taxation bill that was supposed to get enacted, and then but all the jerk 1%ers put a barrage of TV and radio ads out there to make it feel like people like Constitutional Conservative were going to get taxed up their behinds from the thing, which was furthest from the truth. The truth is that rich people, they don't pay taxes unless they want to pay taxes, or unless we make them pay taxes.
And everybody who might have some money is a temporarily inconvenienced millionaire. They think they're going to reach that level. That's why they keep shooting themselves in the dick by espousing those policies that, the rich 1% wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire, even if you supported these policies that protect them from having to pay taxes.
Some very, very illustrative imaging there, Jerry.
Yeah, I know.
Shooting ourselves in the dick, pissing on us to help us, all of that. Love it.
I will say this though, for the progressive taxation issue, is that there is something I think in the Illinois Constitution that supposedly prevents that from taking place unless you get an amendment. So, fine, let's do an amendment.
I'm waiting for the NASCAR tax, Kathy Powers asks.
yeah.
I wonder what that's going to be.
Yeah, that's another thing.
I wonder what that'll be too.
Well, constitutional conservative threw 99 cents at the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Since
your
we're-
support.
99
Since
cents.
we're-
Okay.
Since we're providing him some entertainment tonight, provoking us.
Look,
That's what we're
I
here
think
for.
we're providing excellent context.
I know we are. I know.
And
we are.
he
Especially
is
to
also
push
providing
back
us
on the
entertainment.
propaganda that he's unfortunately being fed by some of the other broadcasting organizations that
Mark Levin.
we find really, really terrible. Got to stop watching that cable news, guys.
I know that I keep clicking the same thing as one of y'all keep clicking. 'Cause
Oh, sorry.
Up and then goes
I
away.
figured I'd pop things up, Kira, while you're hosting. Sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. I just get like a little trigger happy, you know. The massive divide in our country is the difference between what citizens want and what the people they elect let them have. It's up to our voters to make better choices on election day, right? And also, you know, for us to have choices on election day, which is really where primaries come in, and also running for offices, and also independent media, so that we can lift up the voices of independent people who are running. Free of the shackles of anybody in our two-party system. We need to see that.
How is it a conservative is throwing money at people with liberal, progressive mindset?
It's the shimmying. Come on.
See, here's the thing: it shouldn't be about labels. It should be about what's right and what's wrong. It should be about what we should do for each other and what we should be doing for society.
How we should be taking care of each other and supporting each other, not dividing each other, so that the rich and the elite can continue to get away with what they're getting away with, laughing at the rest of us all the time.
I mean,
right?
even if you're a person who thinks that profit is important, you want to be a capitalist guy, you should want all of your potential customers to be healthy.
Yes.
And have good paying jobs, so
right?
they can
and the
buy
people
your
that
stuff.
Work for you, the people that work for you, being healthy, being happy, being super pumped about their work environment. I mean, why? What's so crazy about that idea?
It's because we're supposed to struggle, Kira. This is the American mentality, the Horatio Alger myth. Pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. You need fucking boots to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You need a hand up, not a handout. But this is a society that is founded in indoctrinating people from a very young age in schools with this propaganda that everything has to be hard. You know what? I have a respect for people who work hard, but you shouldn't be a fucking wage slave your whole life to support or live up to the ideal that you're indoctrinated with, that's what the American dream is all about. Not for those with generational wealth, not for those who learned about investing or have rich families to support them. No. Sorry, it's all a myth.
And those people are perfectly fine getting all these handouts from the government.
Yes, they're the ones who get all the handouts from the government.
That's where all the handouts are
getting
going.
These tax breaks, those are handouts.
The CHIPS bill. Well, we were talking about with Kit tonight regarding, again, we're kind of related to Nancy's trip to Taiwan, but Congress just passed a massive bill to subsidize the American computer chip industry, right? Because we're falling behind, even though they're making record profits, because there's a chip shortage. Congress gave them money to subsidize them, and it's like they've got the money to subsidize them, even though they've made record profits, but we don't have money for health care, for Medicare for all. We don't have money to subsidize helping Americans get into everything's. There was some affordable housing put aside. All housing should be affordable.
Come on.
It's endless excuses from the haves who are constantly getting the government welfare. They're the ones who are getting the welfare all the time, not the rest of us. I saw Bill Maher talking on his real-time show, just completely disconnected. He was criticizing the COVID pandemic relief funds that went out to Americans a couple years ago, like it was some big fucking lottery payday for everybody.
That, I mean,
It's
that's
just
what
whack.
everybody who's making $30 million a year keeps talking about, $1,600.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Jump into the
Really?
fucking TV and strangle him. He's the limousine liberal. He's the one who's disconnected, acting like, oh, everybody's like sitting at home, like waiting for their $1,600 checks, like it was.
It's like
wanted
they
to cover
don't know
them
the
for, like,
definition of irony, right?
Yeah,
They're just
month's
like,
rent.
oh my God, I need all of this money. I can't possibly pay more in taxes.
Yeah.
You got $1,600?
Yep.
Holy shit, you must be rich. What? Which one is it? Is $1,600 a lot of money, or is it not
It's
a
not.
lot of money?
It's not, and it's all related
Right?
to these stats that you just shared a moment ago that you had up on screen.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
let's not forget that a bunch of people got locked down, couldn't work. Some people, millions of people lost their jobs. Tons of people went into huge amounts of debt. And I'm one of those people who's still trying to dig his way out. You can't just think that people don't need help because you, in your personal situation, managed to make it through without a whole lot of hiccups.
And they want other people to suffer because they had a hard time. This is related to the whole canceling student debt issue. Well, I had to pay for college. Okay, yeah, when it was more affordable. Why do you want to like punish other people because the cost of education has risen so insanely and dramatically over the past decade that you're okay with saddling students with crushing student debt will never allow them to get into a home? While, yeah, you paid for your college, but it was more affordable. But what is this mindset like? Because I had to struggle, you have to struggle. That's what I'm talking about with this whole American dream thing. Yeah. It's like, you have to struggle.
Yeah, if you want, you want to be mildly irritated by having, like maybe last month you finally paid off your last student loan or whatever, and then all of a sudden everybody else, magically ends up getting their loans forgiven or something.
I'm a business owner, so I'm like, pay their student loans so they can come
take
to my
that 5
business.
minutes and be mildly irritated, but then be happy for everybody else who's able to contribute to the economy now.
That's right.
That they're not dropping that money into a bottomless pit when none of you, including you, should have had to pay for their education in the first place.
And then have the education, they get good jobs to support themselves. So you don't have to bitch later, oh, they're on unemployment now.
And pay taxes and do everything that we want them to do as citizens.
People flipping burgers make too much money. Really? How dependent were you on the people flipping burgers during the pandemic when fucking grocery stores were closed? Suddenly, there were all these essential workers that nobody wanted to see get raises, even though they were supposed to go to work and expose themselves to getting sick, and not probably having the health care coverage to take care of themselves if they got sick during the pandemic.
And let me make this point again. Do you believe that hamburger restaurants should exist? Do you believe there should be people working in those restaurants? Those people deserve a living wage like everyone else. It doesn't matter what the job is.
People dismiss them because they think, well, it's the non-thinking job, really? And if one of them happens to possibly spill fry grease on themselves and have to go to the hospital, and
they have to deal with customers constantly, you have to be with people. They have to make sure that everything is clean because government officials come in and make sure that the restaurant looks good and is abiding by all of its several different rules. There is a lot that goes into running a restaurant and being a part of
restaurant industry jobs are hard.
And they deserve a living wage.
And we've seen viral videos of nightmare customers they've got to deal with too, right?
If you are a person and you are working in a job, you deserve to make a living wage. It doesn't matter what the job is.
Yep.
It doesn't matter how hard it is or how skilled or unskilled you or anybody else believes it is.
Or if you chose to go to school and pay for an education, dismissing the people who are doing the other jobs that they deserve a living wage at. Everybody should have a choice what's going to fulfill them and what they're good at and what they choose to do, not become wage slaves at the mercy of everybody else dismissing them because they couldn't afford to get an education to not be stuck working at a McDonald's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So we see our wages are obviously incredibly depressed right now. We see that our insurance is going to be going up. Of course, there's all kinds of inflation due to all kinds of reasons. And then one of the most impacted populations I just wanted to highlight and make sure, we're all very aware of are those folks with disabilities. People with disabilities have a very high rate of unemployment, higher than most other groups. And many people with disabilities try to survive on SSI, which is only $841 a month.
Oh, that's a fortune, Kira. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. And and this is
that's not even your full rent. That's not even the cost of your. That's not even what your rent is going to be. And if you can't work, how are you supposed to fucking feed yourself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Pay for your health care if you don't have the Medicare, right? If you don't have if you haven't been approved for Medicare and you're disabled, and it's just endless.
Yeah. I mean, the poverty level is $1,133 a month. We have Social Security coming in at $841 a month for this specific population. Thus, millions of people with disabilities are going to be forced into abject poverty. And they arguably need access to health care more than most people. So I just
can attest to that.
It's really, really tragic when we are in this first world country and our people are not living that kind of lifestyle. And this was an article that Kathy Power shared with us, and I thought it was really insightful.
I can tell you firsthand, as a disabled person, for those disabled people who are working extra hard to get over their disability or their limitations, what it does is it causes more injuries. That's why I've had 2 shoulder surgeries, because I'm overcompensating, always keeping busy, always trying to keep up, always trying to make people continue I am very proud of what I can accomplish, but I don't want people as looking at me as like I can't do things. And I've overcompensated all my life, which is why I've got all these health issues now physically later in life, because I've been overcompensating for it.
Mm-hmm. And then we see that across our whole population too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Physically disabled, people who've got internal disabilities. Look, even mental health is a disability. Mm-hmm. Qualifies as a disability that people can't get help for.
All right. I wanted to share a story that Kathy is sharing in our chat. That Leadfoot left her budget town hall on Saturday because they didn't stop chanting for 30 minutes to fund the 58,000 homeless. Yes.
Screw her.
She left her own town hall on Saturday. Great video.
Yes!
And she left probably without any shame that she should have had.
Mm-hmm. Just maybe out of annoyance.
Yeah.
Yep. And stress is the number one killer of our society. Absolutely. That's correct.
Hey, when people want to chant for people to get houses and stuff, and instead of letting me just talk about my platitudes that really accomplish nothing, I get upset and I have to leave. I don't know about you, but my platitudes are extremely important, Kira.
I mean, I get it, Lori. The homeless is inconvenient. I get it.
Yeah. We got all those TIF funds and we could give all these people housing and stuff, but then where would I get the money for the double beam?
Look,
where?
See buildings all over the city. Right. She's courting the fintech industry in Europe to come to Chicago. Now we got NASCAR paying. They are only paying a license that was like $500,000. So everyone else is wondering. We were reporting on this last week. That's all you're getting from NASCAR? Come on. What else are you getting from them, and where's it going? What about the casino deal? All this money that's
going to get a sweet helmet out of the deal too, which is, helmets. They're so great.
Lori, take your helmet and jump out of an airplane without a parachute with that helmet. That's what I wish you'd do.
All right. Well, before we leave the topic of basically income, healthcare, all of the things that we struggle with as Americans, I wanted to bring in, kind of lasso in a little piece of possible good news. It was a story that I found last week about the possibility of Cook County canceling medical debt specifically, starting this fall. Residents across Cook County will receive a note in the mail bearing a simple message saying, your medical debt is taken care of. Debtors will not need to apply to get the relief, nor will that debt forgiveness count against them when they file their taxes. Who's picking up the tab? Cook County government, which will pay the nonprofit group RIP medical debt, rest in peace medical debt, $12 million over the next 3 years to buy medical debt accumulated at hospitals across Cook County for pennies on the dollar. Rather than attempt to collect on that debt, the group will forgive it and work to have that debt erased from credit reports. Because that can often be purchased for pennies on the dollar, compared with the original charge, the county hopes to abolish $1 billion in medical debts that could date back several years.
Good for
the money
them.
comes, yeah. The money comes from the county's pool.
Can you imagine what a billionaire like an Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos could do? Right? Buying all that medical debt and doing some good instead of overcompensating for their little weenies, building rocket ships to go into space and colonize other planets. We got problems here.
Dudes, that's why we're not millionaires and billionaires, though. If we had that much money, we'd be like giving it away. I've come to this conclusion. Yeah. I've come to this conclusion. I'm like, no, those crazy millionaires and billionaires are that way because they're not giving their money away.
Yeah.
It's really weird. It's a weird, and it's certainly not a way of being that I would be. And it's so outside of how I can even imagine like running myself in my life. But yeah, they wouldn't be giving away this money. They wouldn't have any money if they were giving it away at this level. Although at the level they're at, that's not even true anymore because they're multiple billionaires when we're talking about people like Musk and all those other
Bezos.
Well, but I mean, you should be also aware that like Bill Gates literally gave away half of his fortune, and I think he's like 10 times richer than he was when he did that now. So it's like they give money away and to whatever they feel it needs to go to, but then they still remain rich. It's why when we hear these billionaires complain, oh, why am I getting taxed so much? You're barely getting taxed.
First of all, and they've also got
the percentage of your
like
income
hundreds of times over. You'll never spend all that money.
Just made my point. They've got more money than they can spend in several lifetimes. Can you imagine how beloved and how much influence you would have if you dropped a dime into like solving the homeless problem?
Absolutely, 100%.
They can do it. They just don't want to. Yep. Because there has to be a divide and there has to be a class divide. So that they feel better than everybody else and they're the few philanthropic efforts that they engage in is supposed to make up for it, when it's like those philanthropic efforts really don't make the difference that they would be able to make if they attack. The homeless situation is the number one thing on my radar.
And also their solution for those situations are probably different from yours and mine.
Yeah, that's
in which case they might already be doing what they were going to do, which is to just let people die.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything that many of these people do, I would assume, if it was in any way philanthropic, it would somehow have a return on investment, right? Instead of just being like, you know what, I just want to make sure people are taken care of because I have the means. I was so blessed that I have the means to do that. The money comes, so the money to cancel this debt comes from the county's pool of $1 billion in American Rescue Plan Act funds. The program must still be approved by the Cook County Board, and local hospitals must consent to participate. Alongside the county's $42 million guaranteed income program, which we talked about a month, maybe 6 weeks ago, that is going to be happening, and plans to fund new behavioral health offerings at county-run hospitals and clinics, Preckwinkle told the Tribune she hopes the medical debt abolition program will help improve families' long-term economic security and encourage people to seek out medical care free from worries about being pursued for past due bills.
Can I say something real quickly, Kira?
Yeah, go.
It's interesting timing, isn't it? There's a mayoral election coming up.
Fuel your play.
Whoa, sorry.
Oh, hey.
Getting the YouTube video ready. With Preckwinkle. I was getting the video ready for the next story, but yeah, with Preckwinkle, I think the timing's fair.
Run again.
You think so?
Oh, come on. Why didn't they do this during the pandemic? Why didn't they do this previously? Everything is timed for the upcoming election cycle. All the shit that Lightfoot is doing, trying to keep the Bears at Soldier Field, bringing in NASCAR, Lollapallooza's here for another 10 years. It's pandering superficial efforts. And now you've got look, I'm glad it's going to do some good, but I just, sorry if I'm a little cynical in questioning it.
Yeah, cynicism is fine, and I think it's fair. I think it's fair to point out, like, hey, why are none of these efforts happening when it's not an election year? And then also we have to get that that election season has a lot of power too.
Yeah.
So when we just give away our vote because we're like in a panic about the other side, that's when we give away our power too.
Yeah.
So keeping that in mind. So like when our leaders are kowtowing to us on an election year, A, we should get as much as we can out of it.
Absolutely.
And then B, not give our vote away just because they're not as bad as they could be. Right.
Well, this is what Willie Wilson's relying
into a lot.
Yeah. Willie Wilson's relying on this too. Right. He's going to bribe everybody into voting for him. And as I said on a previous show, take everything you can from Willie Wilson. I'm glad he's throwing his money away. But in the end, take what you're not getting regularly and vote for who you want to vote for.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So we got to use that power, and we got to speak up about what we want when we are given that power. So eligible individuals will be Cook County residents who have a household income less than 4 times the federal poverty level, or have medical debts that are 5% or more of their annual income. Debt accounts will be anywhere from 18 months to 7 or more years old. Account balances will have been written off to bad debt, and hospitals consider the accounts to be dormant. RIP, which is the nonprofit that is spearheading this, plans to buy that debt directly from hospital in bundles. Creditors like hospitals, ambulance operators, or private doctors write off debts after a few years and put them up for sale to third-party collection agencies who can buy millions of dollars worth of charges at a fraction of the original cost in hope of collecting at least some past due bills. The older the debt, the cheaper it is to buy. And rather than collect on those debts, RIP medical debt will use them as donations and forgive them. And beneficiaries will be determined at random through hospitals' willingness to work with RIP to access their debt accounts and find those who qualify for the relief program. Then RIP will notify people which accounts of theirs are no longer owed. That letter will be the first notice a debt has been abolished, says RIP representative Allison says so. So that is some really good news on the medical debt front, and for those lucky people who are able to get their medical debt forgiven, both because they qualify and because the hospitals with which they have their debt are going to be participating. Something to keep your eyes peeled for. So medical debt is a stubborn issue nationally. It's the leading contributor to personal bankruptcy. Somewhere between 17% to 35% of American adults have medical debt, according to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And Black and Hispanic people, young adults, and low-income individuals have higher rates than the national average. Also RIP in 2021 abolished $2.7 billion worth of debt for 1.3 million people. So this is not their first rodeo. And from what I understand from this article, Illinois is actually the first state to use the funding that we got for the American Rescue Plan in this way. So we'll see if other states follow suit in helping people reduce or completely get rid of their medical debt. Whew.
Ed shared this link. Is there a video with this set? Oh no, it's okay. It's just more supporting what Kira was reporting on.
Yep.
That one's from March. It's just people are asking what have we spent the COVID relief funds on?
That's right. Constitutional Conservative in the chat was asking. Yeah,
I'm like, well, they spend it on a lot of stuff. Have they spent it all? I don't know. We got to find out where the ledger is for all the things that got spent from all the money that.
Yeah, there's been a lot of investments. I know. In CPS there have been investments, and now with the medical debt there have been investments, and we've been reporting on a bunch of things here and there. I just keep hearing the federal relief funds are being used to pay for this. Some of the things that I've gotten concerned about are the things that are programs that would need to last in perpetuity to be successful. And then I start to get worried, like, oh, well, once those funds are gone, does that get taken away? How is that going to work? But for the time being, it seems that everything that I've stumbled across, as insofar as what our funds are being spent on, seem to be agreeable. I haven't really seen anything where I'm like, what? But I will keep my eyes peeled for that. And
I think part of it might
can
just
always share with us.
I think the other concern, which I think a lot of us have, is sometimes they pile up this money and they don't spend it. Like it's like, why haven't you spent it on this or that? I mean, Chicago got its own share of relief funds, and we know what happened to a majority of that, and it went to police overtime. And crime didn't go down. Yeah, it sure didn't.
Sure didn't.
I mean, it didn't make a difference really.
But the cops got more money.
And we don't want to spend another hour talking about how we can make changes to public safety and and reimagine how that works in Chicago. We've talked about this already. In fact, we have a whole section on our Chicago Corner Manifesto, which we probably spend an episode talking about at some point down the road, because we're running out of time on that, aren't we?
Hinky. What does that mean? It's hinky.
Oh, strange.
Weird. Well, don't you say strange or weird? I mean, hinky, that has no meaning.
We say hinky.
I don't want you guys using words around me that got no meaning.
Yeah. So you're like, what's the Chicago Corner Manifesto? Well, it is basically it's a list of demands. I was calling it our Christmas list for what we want to make to the next mayor of Chicago.
And I said we need to make it a manifesto.
Yeah,
we need more radical language.
I was calling it the North to South and East to West pledge.
It's still part of it. We just made it a longer title to satisfy all of our thoughts on how it would be taken more seriously.
Yeah, we can use all three working titles in my opinion. Awesome.
More impactful. That's the word.
Yeah, as long as people aren't too concerned about the word manifesto. I mean, sometimes it has bad connotations, with some of the people who in history who have had manifestos. The ones that
also had guillotines.
Well,
and torches and pitchforks,
or little shacks.
Oh, okay. I forgot
about sunglasses.
Sorry. Yeah, you're right. Maybe it wasn't a good idea to use manifesto. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, it does have a negative connotation, but I don't think that it's a word that necessarily is negative.
The reality is the word gets smeared a lot, but it's just a general word for
just like progressive's been so
for the kind of document that we're putting together here.
Kathy Power shares she insulted Arwadi on LinkedIn tonight. She's so proud. She'll probably be taken down. I don't know. Share in the chat. How did you insult her? I want to know. And I salute you.
We salute you. All right. So
I've got the video queued up. I didn't know if you want to start with the video or with the.
I was just going to give a short intro. So why don't you pull that video up while I intro it? So CTA workers held a protest in solidarity with general workers, but also with their own requests in their own work environment. And it sounded a little bit to me like a bit of a warning to the powerful that I think workers are really ready to get mobilized. So I was pretty jazzed by some portions of this video. Let's take a look at their messaging. Jerry, I'll have you go ahead and start it. I'll let you know when I want you to stop it.
# general strike.
From the helm of the public transportation sector. Today we stand in defiance against the warmongers, billionaire bloodsuckers of the poor, cruel managers at the CTA, hate butts, the scumbag politicians, the boot-licking.
I like the way this guy speaks.
I know.
Sellouts who shove concessionary contracts down our throats and send police and and company managers to punish us. For 1 hour, we have the power. Yay! For 1 hour, we, the transportation workers of this city and other human beings who serve the people in other industries, declare that a revolution has begun.
The money is a tool.
Woo! All right, we can pause that there.
Preach it, brother.
I know. Apparently, CTA workers and members of their union have an hour of power speak outs that serve as a space for workers to basically air their grievances and plan future protests and actions. And as we're seeing in the rhetoric of this gentleman, maybe even revolution. So this interview that starts, Jerry, at 1:12 on that video, that's where his name is Eric Visur. I think that's what he said his name was. He's a CTA worker, and I thought that he had some really interesting things to say about their work environment on the CTA, and also how he believes we should move forward as a nation. So at 1:12, if you wouldn't mind starting that video.
I got it queued up. I just wanted to share. I wanted to indulge Ilhanner.
These are my favorite tools to use on billionaires.
All right.
I love it.
Well, they are a little more convenient than finding the nearest volcano.
It's a quicker solution, Ed.
So what's your name, sir?
My name is Eric Visir.
And what's bringing you out here today?
The need for our co-workers to believe in themselves, take control of their union, and fight for full-time jobs for all in CTA.
What kind of conditions are you dealing with?
We're dealing with some of the most horrible conditions regarding our own safety on the job, whether we're in the maintenance department or the transportation department. We have equipment that is not maintained, that causes injuries, accidents. We have, because of the abandonment of human beings in the city, we have crime, desperate people, terrorizing us on our buses and our trains and our stations. They've got nothing to lose. A lot of them are self-medicated. Health, mental health, physical health, education, housing. It's like every man and woman for himself. And it just doesn't work because people get sick, people have problems, people need help.
The end stage of predatory capitalism, is that how I've heard it defined, or am I getting the phrase wrong?
Yeah. The end stage. What is it called?
End stage capitalism.
End stage, end stage camp, something like that. I'm blanking on the actual term of it.
Yeah, the truth is all capitalism is predatory.
Yeah.
Should I continue it?
Yeah. Let's go to 242 on the ticker.
Oh, I'm right there. I just had to interject. Here we go.
In 6 months, our tax dollars have funded.
All right, yeah, let's go ahead and pause here. Yeah, sorry, we were going to that point, and I thought that seemed like a really nice cutoff point, and I had made that the cutoff point. So there you go. I agreed with myself hours later. So Chicago Transit Justice Coalition says that complaints about bad behavior have climbed since the start of the pandemic. It's a trend that's impacting transit systems around the country. But ridership in the CTA has dropped by 50%. Among the increase in unruly behavior is violence and threats of violence against transit workers. A bus driver, for example, in West Pullman was shot last year after telling someone to wear a mask. A booth worker at a CTAL station previously told Block Club he is threatened at least twice a week on his job. We shared
security videos. Remember that one CTA employee was insulted and he shot the guy? Now the CTA employee is facing jail because of the guy that attacked him in the station. I mean, certainly shooting the guy was an overreaction, but I'm sure that was, a provocation that was triggered by endless other instances of abuse from some of these crazy people that are I know Kathy Powers is going to chastise me for using crazy people riding public transit. I'm not talking about mental health issues. I'm talking about sociopaths, Kathy. So anyway.
So yeah, so these CTA workers, one employee says, they say, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to shoot you, I'm going to stab you all the time. I'm leaving in a few years, he says, but the way things are set up right now, I don't know if I'll get out of here alive. That's how bad it is. And then if you don't mind, Jerry, going over to 309 to finish us up. Yeah, and then and I definitely want to share the JusticeTransitWorker.com. So 309 to 347. Let's have a listen to the last piece before we should
First crews, clean and safe working conditions with union jobs, where every station smells and looks like CTA headquarters, where we can cover the third rail so that our employees don't fall on it. If something falls off, they don't explode and blind them. Where we can't have our turntables in our shop serviced so that we don't have to break our backs turning these things as we move and install motors and motors, but wheel assemblies and all kinds of things like that. Come on.
Yeah. Go ahead and pause there.
Where do you plan on going on from here? What's next?
So we can go ahead and pause here. So basically, this group, what he goes on to say is like,
we got a stream problem from Kira, but she'll be back momentarily. We should credit Caleb Maupin of the Center for Political Innovation for that video clip. The ChicagoTransitWorker.com website also has a video from that Power Hour that took place on Friday. Kira's
Did you
back.
want to share any of that, Ed? Because I didn't get to see any of that video.
I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I imagine it's just more people speaking from that same event.
Yeah, I saw you put it in there right before we were going on the show. So yeah, our viewers can definitely have a look-see and see what they're up to, because we need more people getting together and doing these sorts of actions and making plans and becoming leaders and pushing for what it is we need as a society. And public transit is definitely something we need, and we need our workers on public transit and the people traveling on public transit to be and feel safe. And I love, I want to highlight one of the things Mr. Vasseur said, which was, quote, the abandonment of human beings in the city is basically what is making all of this happen. I thought that was just so beautifully said, and so like nail on the head, right? I was talking to somebody who works as a mental health professional to get him on the show, and he was literally with no provoking from me talking about this exact thing. Like, we see study after study, we see that when people are given what they need, when people are taken care of, when people are given mental health, that they not only survive, but they are thriving. So, and then Kathy Power says Starbucks has 200 organizations. So people are mobilizing, y'all. If you're not on a train yet, go ahead and get on one and buckle up.
That chickens have come home to roost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and don't get too discouraged if your initial movements, when you're having a little get together, a protest, a power hour, a march, or whatever. That if you don't have a huge turnout the first time around, it takes a while. You have to get the word out. You got to go through the situation and then plan to do more. That's unfortunately how it works. Is you can't just do one and hope everybody's going to show up.
Yep, absolutely. You have to stay consistent, and this kind of long-term protesting is one of very effective ways of building power. So, if you want to join these CTA workers, if you just want to see what they're up to, just be sure to check out the website, ChicagoTransitWorker.com. Yep.
Be the change.
That's right. We all hands on deck, y'all. All hands on deck. All right. So we have another video to share. A big announcement was made this weekend. So yeah, let's go ahead and hit it.
From our delusional rock star mayor.
Confirmed with WGN's Dean Richards was first to report last week. The festival is staying in Chicago for another decade.
Lolla, all the great work, all the fabulous music will continue for 10 more years.
Yeah, did you run that by City Council?
4 years of music, of arts, of support for the city of Chicago, $4 billion in economic impact, 10 more years.
$4 billion. Where's it going, bitch?
That's,
Here I go.
mean,
I get nailed as a misogynist. I would call Rahm Emanuel a bitch too. Where's that $4 billion gonna go?
Somebody call my name.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Yep. So Chicago mayor said Monday, the new 10-year Lollapalooza contract is better for the city than the previous decade-long agreement.
She loves bragging, but won't put the money where it needs to go in proactive solutions. Let's entertain all the white kids from the suburbs who are going to come into the city and blow their money and not use that money to help empower and support the lesser privileged kids from other neighborhoods across the city. I'm Lori Lightfoot, and I approve this message.
Well, beyond that lack of transparency, the details of the deal haven't even been made completely public. So the transparency is like stopping at square one with this.
Just like NASCAR.
Yeah, exactly.
Should we there's not much more to the video. Should we finish it out real quick?
Yeah, why don't we finish the video? I didn't realize there was more. Okay.
Sorry, I just had to say 40 billion. Where's it going?
Grant Park.
All good. 4 billion.
Of Lollapalooza since 2005.
She loves going out there and playing like, she's Miss Rockstar.
Oh yeah.
It just makes me
Washington
ill.
Launched a new initiative titled
so the contract is structured for us to share in the wealth. So in other words, we've got a base, she said. But as things get better, and hopefully they will, meaning as the revenues improve year after year, we get to share that with Lolla. So we're really partners in this together, said Lori. And I think having that stability, so frankly, they can book their artists years in advance, really is to the benefit not only to them, but also a benefit to us, was her statement.
All right. So this is great. We're getting the business. But again, it's like my problem is like, where's it all going to go? She's getting all this money and she still says we're too broke to do the things that need to be done. Great. She's doing her job, getting the money. Start putting it where it needs to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that a lot of people are waiting to see that action. And it's, it's just always stalled. Like where the money goes is always stalled. So coming up to elections, we'll see the money coming in. Once elections are concluded, we'll all have no idea where any of the money went. This year's edition of Lollapalooza wrapped up Sunday, late Monday. The city reported that 15 people were arrested, 8 citations were issued, and 68 concert goers were taken to local hospitals during the 4-day music festival, which is a decrease from last year. 19 arrests compared to 15, 7 citations compared to 8 last year, and then 102 medical transports compared to 68 this year. So,
what she's missing, Kira, is that the way this should get her reelected is if she's transparent with, we've got $40 billion. We can reopen the mental health clinics. We can start creating more youth centers. That's the stuff she should get elected on. In her mind, it's just like, I'm bringing money to the city and that's enough.
Right. No, 100%.
Where it's got to go.
Yeah, absolutely, Jerry.
And I give her credit for it, but it's not, it's a half measure. It's not following through.
Right. There's no follow through.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I hear you. I totally hear you on that. And I think it's 4 billion, not 40.
I'm sorry. I must have misheard her. Okay.
It's okay. So according to the mayor's office, since tracking the economic impact of the festival in 2010, the festival has generated nearly $2 billion for a Chicago economy, including $305.1 million in 2021 alone. And Lightfoot said the deal comes to an estimated future financial impact of $4 billion. The new contract increases the daily attendance up to 115,000 instead of 100,000. There doesn't appear to be a major park infrastructure investment, which I think is kind of an issue personally. Yeah. But the C3, who is the event organizer in the new contract beyond refurbishment of the, basically say there's not really anything in the contract beyond refurbishment of the tennis courts where the organizers park their vehicles during the event. So one of the big issues that around the secrecy of the contract and negotiations is that people obviously weren't able to put in their 2 cents and get ideas out in front of her, like Juanita Irizarry, who's the executive director of the advocacy group Friends of Parks. She said she expects her group to press more for the city to set up a permanent festival grounds like Milwaukee has done. Milwaukee 75-acre
like
Henry Meyer
Summerfest.
Festival Park is a former airstrip downtown along Lake Michigan. A place hosts the city's ethnic and cultural festivals.
They shut down Meigs Field. Why don't they have it over on North? They could have converted Northley Island to. It is a kind of a concert venue. I think there's some kind of concert venue over there. I don't know because I don't go, but I mean, if I recall seeing that there. Go ahead, Ed. I mean,
yeah, that's what it is now. It's a concert venue.
So why aren't they?
Well, they can't get all the players to perform in that one place. It's really not meant. It's not made to be a multi-stage situation. I think.
Yeah. That makes total sense.
But yeah, Constitutional Conservative actually has a good idea that Soldier Field.
That's what I was actually thinking. I was like, what about, like, aren't we talking about Soldier Field not like really having anything?
I mean,
right?
Clock is right.
I mean, I'm perfectly fine with the Bears leaving. I got Super Bowl 20. I'm good.
I'm actually kind of okay with
if
that.
they're repurposing Soldier Field, sure.
That.
Sure, Soldier Field could definitely be repurposed. You'd have that one stage at one end and one stage at the other end kind of a deal, although maybe it won't be big enough for a Lollapallooza.
And leave the name Chicago at the door on the way out, or pay a lot of money for the.
I think I think that Chicago
rights,
should be paid for the rights. Yes, absolutely. I think that would be a really smart direction to go in.
I don't think you understand just the amount of money that they're giving us to replace sod, Kira. We're going to be putting so much sod back in after it had been trampled by all those concert goers. We've got so much money for sod.
And we'll just have to redo it every year. It's no big deal. Hey, it'll help the economy, right? So the secrecy around the contract negotiations and the exclusion of local aldermen from them is unfortunate, because I think a lot of these things that we're asking about wouldn't negate Lolla or these other events necessarily, but they would be a benefit to the people who live downtown, because a lot of people who are living downtown, who are dealing with Grant Park, now basically becoming like HQ for like all of these huge events, now have to deal with, I mean, can you imagine living down there when NASCAR's there?
Oh, this is what we were talking about last. It's insane. She's lost her mind. Downtown is already congested with all the bike lanes, right? Mm-hmm. Now they're going to have NASCAR. They're going to be shutting things down. She didn't talk at all with the local aldermen in those neighborhoods to get that the aldermen would get feedback from the people living there, because she did it all behind closed doors. And it was for a $500,000 park permit. Come on. Really? That's all you're getting for it? Who else is making out on this deal that you didn't want to talk to the aldermen in those neighborhoods about it first? To also, thanks, Ed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so a lot of the people in the neighborhood, are really concerned for next summer, because as it stands, like basically Grant Park's going to be shut down for an entire month.
4th of July weekend is when it's happening.
Oh.
It's during the 4th of July that she's going to be doing this shit. People are down there at Navy Pier to watch the fireworks, right? How's that going to work?
Or no, they aren't anymore, because you're going to have all the crowds down there for NASCAR, so other people aren't going to be able to get downtown.
And here's another thing, okay? Here's the other thing that I'm getting the next link ready as I'm talking here. These streets are not built, despite the fact a lot of us, run the speed cams. I'm not admitting to anything.
I get so
Okay,
many
no.
tickets. It's okay. It's okay.
But seriously, those streets are not designed. I don't care what she says about Columbus Drive, Lakeshore Drive. They are not designed for speed racing. Okay, there's going to. I've seen races where race cars crash. Is that what people are looking forward to seeing or hoping to see as part of the thrill of bringing NASCAR to Chicago on these streets that aren't designed for that? Look, I don't want to sound like an old man here preaching about safety, but seriously, it's like, okay, if there is some kind of an accident that happens, there's going to be property damage. You're going to have people in crowds watching this thing. You're going to have, local infrastructure, neighborhoods impacted. It's just such a fucking colossally bad idea that she didn't vet ahead of time or really examine. She just decided election's coming up. I need to pull another feather out of my ass to show that I'm doing something that's going to make Chicago, that's going to present Chicago on the world stage. Look, we already got listed as like the second or third greatest city in the world. We're done. We're fine, Lori. You don't need to pull all this other shit.
Boom,
Yeah,
boom,
we're already a world-class city. We don't need you to have your little gimmicks
because of the people
to be cool.
Because of the people.
Chicago's already cool.
Yeah,
gimmicks. That's what they are, Ed. That's a great word for it. Yeah, no doubt. Constitutional conservative. Who's going to pay that liability insurance?
And don't get me wrong. I would still love to see NASCAR tearing ass through the city. I'm just kind of sad that they're not going to try to do it through Lower Wacker, like the Batmobile Tumble.
I might sign up for that.
See that one? I mean, these are the types of things you want to see in like a video game where they have a.
This is why you need to get the aldermen involved in the conversations. One of the aldermen would have come up with that. Come on.
So I want to share a little secret to like really enjoying Lower Wacker Drive. If you get on Lower Wacker Drive over at the Ida Wells under the post office and you want to get across town to Lakeshore Drive using Lower Wacker Drive, the soundtrack theme from The Dark Knight is perfectly timed to get from Ida B. Wells to Lakeshore Drive, and I blasted in my Jeep when I'm driving down there, remembering that scene in the movie.
I used to go on Lower Wacker all the time, but now my sister moved down the street from me, so there's no reason for me to drive it all the time anymore.
Well, the Blues Brothers, Batman in the Dark, actually Batman Begins. That's when that whole thing. Oh no, actually in Dark Knight 2, when the Joker tried to hijack the caravan that was protecting Aaron Eckhart. It's a great shortcut across town.
Yeah, I love Lower
because it's not always that, except during rush hour, but during other times of the day when there's traffic everywhere else, aside from rush hour, you can usually take Lower Wacker and get to the Lakeshore Drive much quicker from downtown.
Mm-hmm. Yep, agreed.
I like this.
Agreed.
Mommy, why is there a car in our living room?
All right. So,
you know what this means, everybody?
Shimmy time.
Dollar tip from Kathy Powers. We know what that means. I'm getting it cued. Here you go, Lori. Or do you want the long version?
No. Is that me gold?
What the hell are you?
I'm a leprechaun, me dear.
Here. This is what you're looking for, right?
Jennifer Aniston representing NASCAR. Here's what you're looking for. Here's the money.
Here's what you're looking for. All right. Well, and while we're on the topic of Kathy's super chat, I wanted to read a little something that Kathy wrote.
Okay.
Called Our Elected Leadfoot. Insane, showboat, bully, foul-mouthed maven, closed door, red light camera installer, gas card campaigner, soldier field ignorer, clown, casino hustler, bean-loving tourist hustler, gentrifier, poverty maker, COVID spreader, downtown property police lover, poverty lock 'em upper, FOIA obfuscator, TIF queen, BIPOC resource stealer, pothole NASCAR races, curfew racist, egomaniac, lightweight, people hater, coward, liar, our mayor, pay your traffic tickets now. Affectionately, Chicago resident Kathy Powers. Thought that was fun. Thanks, Kathy, for your poetry. All right. Oh, and look at us.
Hey.
Yes. Wow. And Notary S, I saw your note earlier. You could always give us a super chat, okay?
I think that for that $5 super sticker that Constipational Conservative shared with us, I got a video for him that he's probably going to enjoy. Let me scroll through it. Here we go. Enjoy.
This how bitch, look at Lori, how bitch. What you want? Come on, cause you better fuck her right, cause I will fuck her to death. Yo, I'm hiding. She got a big dick, all right. What's up, Lori? What you want? What's up? You fucking me tonight? You fucking me too?
You dicks, what the fuck were you thinking? You make some kind of secret agreement with the Italians. You're out there measuring your dicks with the Italians, seeing who's got the biggest dicks. You're out there stroking your dicks over the Columbus statue. My dick is bigger than yours and the Italians. I have the biggest dick in Chicago.
That was awesome.
You
fucking me tonight. You fucking me tonight.
Yes, Miguel, she fucked the whole city.
That's awesome. That is so good. I love it. All right. Enough. I'm sweating. Here we go. Okay. My curfew is in 20 minutes.
All right.
Okay.
So
we're gonna get the next couple of stories.
She's gonna turn into a pumpkin.
I do turn into a pumpkin. Okay. So we're talking about PFAS again. You guys, I keep bringing up like the most depressing topics, and PFAS are one of them. They're in the news, and I think that they are something we should really be paying attention to, especially as a population who doesn't have any health insurance. We should probably know what's killing us. So,
I beg your pardon. What did you say?
Nice. Yeah, that's right. So forever chemicals known as per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, goodness gracious, that's a long word, or PFAS, have been widely used for decades in firefighting foam and to make products such as nonstick cookware, stain repellent carpets, waterproof jackets, fast food wrappers that repel oil and grease, all kinds of things.
They're in everything.
They're in everything. They're in everything, and they're everywhere. We talked about an investigation a couple weeks ago regarding ongoing investigations revealing that more than 8 million Illinoisans, 6 out of every 10 in the state, are getting their drinking water from a utility where at least one forever chemical has been detected. And now we're learning that human excrement and industrial waste is being flushed into the sewers, and conventional treatment not only fails to screen out PFAS, it concentrates the chemicals into a sludge, and most of the muck is actually dumped on our farmland.
That must be the secret ingredient in Chicago.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Chicago. I always think it should be whispered. During the past 6 years alone, federal records show that more than 615,000 tons of sludge from the Metropolitan Water District of Greater Chicago has been plowed into 29,000 acres near the nation's third largest city. Research and public health advocates are increasingly concerned because some PFAS build up in human blood, take years to leave the body, and don't break down in the environment. Others transform over time into more hazardous compounds, increasing the risk that grains, beans, hay, and produce grown in sludge-amended soil can be tainted for years to come. Long-term exposure to tiny concentrations of certain PFAS can trigger testicular and kidney cancer, birth defects, liver damage, impaired fertility, immune system disorders, high cholesterol, and obesity. Studies have found links to breast cancer and other diseases are suspected. Yet they remain largely unregulated. The Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, or MWRD, is an independent taxpayer-financed agency that manages sewage from Chicago and the rest of Cook County. Has known for more than a decade that its sludge is contaminated with forever chemicals, according to studies reviewed by the Tribune and records obtained through the Freedom of Information Act requests. In 2011, peer-reviewed studies of farmland fertilized with the district sludge found some of the highest concentrations of PFAS detected to date in agricultural fields nationwide. I think California beats us, is the only other state that beats us. And the most contaminated field in the study, south of Peoria in Fulton County, is among 13,500 acres of strip mined land. the MWRD bought during the early 1970s and reclaimed by covering it in sludge until 2004. Nearly 40% of the land is leased to farmers who graze cattle or grow corn, hay, soybeans, and wheat, according to district records. So that's an issue. We are covering our farmland in sludge that is contaminated. And that sludge is not, the contamination within the sludge is not breaking down because these contaminants do not break down. So, awesome.
Did somebody say contaminated sludge? Oh, wait.
I take responsibility for what happened because it happened on my watch.
Oh, wait, nobody calls me that here.
And then a good reason to not eat green beans. Always hated them. Absolutely. So, yeah, again, like I feel like we're being bombarded from all over the place when it comes to what it is we're consuming, what it is we're breathing, what it is we're drinking, and, just our health in general, and having no support in that realm is really, really going to, I think that's going to be what really brings this country down to its knees. And as we all get sicker and as we have more climate catastrophes and as we have more of these kinds of issues, I just really fear what the future holds. So as it stands right now, a panel of researchers were organized by the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine, and they concluded that pregnant women and other sensitive groups should be screened for breast cancer, unhealthy cholesterol levels, and high blood pressure when the amount of forever chemicals in their blood exceeds 2 parts per billion, which is equivalent to a couple of drops of water in a swimming pool. Every American with more than 2 parts per billion in their blood should be checked for signs of other diseases as well, including thyroid disorders, kidney and testicular cancer, and ulcerative colitis, panel members said on Thursday in their recommendations to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. New guidelines for the nation's doctors came the same week. Another group of researchers estimated that exposure to forever chemicals could cost current U.S. population nearly $63 billion in hidden healthcare costs. A team of researchers at New York University estimated that the cost of PFAS and PFAS exposure by plugging the most scientifically rigorous disease studies into a computer model that calculates the price of medical care and lost wages due to illness. Their low-end estimates are $5.5 billion on the strongest links between the exposure and disease. But when they added other research suggesting other health damages caused by forever chemicals, they projected the cost swelled $62.6 billion, you guys. Yeah. So that's where we're headed with this. We're being recommended that we start getting tested for PFAS, for what sounds like not really that much of it in our bloodstream.
Well, I mean,
and I think a lot of it because they don't know exactly.
It's good to know how much is in our bloodstream, but they still don't know what to do about it. What I mean, how?
Yeah.
I
what
mean,
do you do?
we can't really. I mean, we're not really going to be able to treat this type of thing in any normal type of way. I mean, and until they stop, letting it end up in our bloodstreams, what can we do?
What is there to do, right? And Eleanor, just to, it says if you have an airport in your city, then you have forever chemicals in your blood already. Everybody does. What they're saying in these reports is that every single person already has PFAS in their bloodstream. It's just a matter of if you reach a certain level, you need to be screened more for certain diseases, and a lot of diseases associated with cancer. Yeah, no doubt, Pat.
It was Kid who brought my attention to the fact we've got lead in the water. I don't have filtered taps here in my building. I've never noticed that the water tastes any different, but I don't know. Maybe I should be worried.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that constitutional conservative has a good point here. So many things that could kill us. Why trying? Just live your life and enjoy the moments you have. Because
Yeah,
you
we
know,
just have to outweigh the sludge with everything else that we take in. You know, I prefer, pizza and barbecue myself. I think that's going to save.
Yeah, processed food isn't looking so bad now, is it?
Sorry, I'm very sorry to interrupt the show, Kira, but I heard toxic sludge, and I think that was probably an appropriate time to announce that unfortunately we've had a recall on our triple bean espresso roast, which fortunately we were unable to serve at the Triple Bean Casino coffee shop that we had. That we were going to set up in Millennium Park, except I had set up a curfew that doesn't work, and it's a long, convoluted story that I don't think anybody even wants to hear about anymore.
Yeah. For sure, Lori.
Ed, are there any companies that you know that could custom bag your double bean espresso coffee package design? Because if we could find a place that could just put coffee in those bags, we'd make a fortune here. I would think, maybe. I would hope.
No, there are companies that will do promotional material. I don't know about coffee bags. You could probably find some. I know a while back I was looking into energy drinks and soda cans because we were gonna. I designed a Smash Tifa Liquid Freedom energy drink.
I remember that
label, which I still want to have done when I have the extra cash, because I was like, oh man, that would be such a great giveaway to give to people. Actual real energy drink or soda, depending on what we end up getting, with a label, with a nice funny parody label on there, a little collector's item.
This would be a way to go. Death by Chicago style pizza.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's like Kira finished. I don't want her to turn into a pumpkin.
I will turn into a pumpkin. It's very ugly. Okay, and I just want to highlight what Pat said here. Then this was in response to me saying, like, live your life. What are you going to do?
Yes.
Then those of us who have kids hope that they can live their lives. And I have an 18-month-old, and I think about her future all the time.
And this is this is the problem. It's those, especially I think in the energy industry, who have had decades to convert over to solar. Yep. Or alternative form, but they just want to keep relying on fossil fuels. They're not going to be here when all of that's causing the climate change and the toxic pollutants in our, they're not going to be, they don't care. How is it that they don't think about their families or the generations that are living behind? That's what blows my mind, is they're such sociopaths.
It's the same conversation that we have about the billionaires. Like, how do you look at all the suffering, have all of this money, way more money than you, your children, your children's children, and your children's children could ever spend? And how do you not just say, you know what? I should put together something that makes sure people are housed. How is that just not a natural instinct?
Where are they going to leave?
Same conversation with these crazy CEOs who are like, fuck it. Let's just we found out 10 years ago that this is destroying people's health. Shh, don't tell anybody. We should definitely not say anything. What?
They'll leave that money to their heirs instead of improving things, and their heirs won't have a world to live safely in.
Yeah, they're going to be surrounded by sick people, and they're not going to be fertile. So then where's your legacy? So sorry.
Kathy wanted to share with us really quickly how she insulted Arwadi. Arwadi is an architecture docent. I said safer than her medical advice. Quack, quack. I don't know what architecture docent means, though.
I don't either.
Maybe it was a mistype on Kat. Well, cool. Shared it. We've passed the tipping point on how much carbon we can release. It's only going to get worse. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We used to tax the rich 95%.
Yeah.
Yes, she is.
Woo! Give us more money.
Lucky for us. We'll talk about that post-show quickly, some ideas.
Yeah. Indeed. All right. And then
Whoa.
Okay.
I feel like a stripper on the stage tonight. He's just throwing
I think Jerry should shimmy. I think this is time. It's time for Jerry to shimmy for this one.
Yes!
There's my shimmy.
Huzzah. Awesome. Awesome. Oh, thanks. Thank you. You need a safe space. Good night. Cool. And then the other two stories, I'll just quick mention them because I think that one of them is really interesting and one of them is really good news. If you guys haven't heard about the settlement for the vaccine mandates for healthcare industries, really interesting story. I think it's a really interesting, nuanced story personally. Where when you read the details of the story, I personally went through a bunch of like, yeah, but what about this and how about that? And but basically North Shore agrees to pay $10.3 million in a settlement to over 500 different employees that either basically were let go because when they requested religious or medical exemptions, they were basically denied out of hand with any real consideration for what they were requesting. And so these people went ahead and went to sue, and North Shore settled, and they say in the article, like, oh, we're settling without any like admittance of wrongdoing. And that kind of settlement indicates to me that they were probably just negating people's requests.
Well, the other thing too, though, with what we know about COVID and the vaccines, and they don't actually protect you, they just help build your immunity. How could they have any kind of a defense over? I have a friend who's not vaccinated, who's having a tough time finding work, and I'm wondering like what the legalities are with filing a lawsuit, finding an attorney to advocate on your behalf, because if for whatever reasons now, especially with what we know about the vaccines really not having. And I'm not anti-vaccine. I got it, and I still would have gotten it. But with all the other information that's come out, despite that, there shouldn't have been even then any kind of prejudice or dismissals of people with their jobs or what's the word? Why are words always escaping me? Maybe it's because I got vaccinated and it's killed my brain cells. Any discrimination.
We cannot prove that.
Maybe there shouldn't be any discrimination against people for work that haven't been vaccinated, whether it's religious or other beliefs.
No, and I mean even if it were a sterilizing vaccine, although I don't think we want to go down this rabbit hole this evening.
Oh,
it looks like Kira hit the end of her curfew there.
Hopefully she'll be back soon.
This stream disruption brought to you by Flavor Improving Mugs. The mugs that improve flavor. Do you have a regular old mug that doesn't improve the flavor of your beverage? What are you doing with that mug when you could have a flavor improving mug available now in the merch shop? Check the link in the video below.
So it appears Kira's internet crapped out. Kira, do you want us to wait for you to come back, or do you want us to close out the show? I will sit down and wait for my response as we talk here. But I mean, I think she did kind of cover what the good news here was here. Oh, Roger Meadows, $2 super chat. Thank you. Just got on. You do minimum wage yet? Do I need to rewind? Yes, because we're coming to the close of the show, Roger. Actually, I don't know. Yeah, we did minimum wage at the top of the show as part of the. There she is. She's back. Yay.
I'm here. Oh, hey, I'm here. Woo.
All right.
Oh, sorry. I was watching the show on my phone. Yeah, Roger Meadows. We did it. It was like the second story we did. So like toward the top of the show, check it out. I tied it into our healthcare story that we started with. So thank you, Roger Meadows. Roger Meadows is one of my unofficial producers as well.
Yes, Kathy, but you can't discriminate against people who need to make a living also. I mean, it's such a, I respect what Kathy has to say here. And again, I'm not anti-vax. We don't want to go down this whole rabbit hole since we're towards the end of the show. We don't want Kira to turn into a pumpkin while we're arguing it. But no, there's no excuse for discriminating people against in the workplace regarding their choice to get vaccinated or not. I think
the other piece about the mandates with the hospitals North Shore is the workers were offering to mask and to have testing, and I'm personally of the belief that people get to do with their bodies whatever it is they want to do, and if they do not want to get vaccinated, they have that right, and they also have a responsibility, and a workplace has a responsibility to the safety of their workers and the safety of their customers. So when we can find a balance of like, okay, well, if you're not going to get vaccinated and we know that you're going to be carrying a heavier viral load of this very spreadable disease, then we'll have to take these other measures. I do not agree with mandates, but I do agree with coercion. I am okay with coercing people into doing things, but mandating is going to be, and also discriminating against those who didn't choose that path.
I am not okay with coercion. And I just need you to know that.
But it also appears that
I'm okay with it.
With
I'm okay with coercion.
With everything we've learned, with a lot of the lies and the mistruths, those that were hit the worst by COVID were those that sadly had a lot of related comorbidities. They had health problems to begin with. So they did need to be protected. But at the point now where we're discovering that it's people with the highest rate of comorbidity seem to be more prone to death from receiving COVID, then you can't mandate to everybody else that, as Kira said a moment ago, that we're taking precautions who may have been in better health from being discriminated against with their jobs. So I think that's what gets lost in that whole breakdown, because it's, from everything I've personally read, the highest mortality rate came from those that had all kinds of other health problems. And that's sad, and I'm not dismissing that as, oh well, then that's okay that for people who chose not to get vaccinated. But if you were in better health and you were willing to take that risk, and you weren't really protecting anybody if you got vaccinated, because although it could build your own immunity, you could still have it and not know it and pass it along to people that have the comorbidities. So yeah, it's. All right, so Kathy said she got it.
And even that was questionable because you were basically playing a 3 to 6 month version of whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
Hoping that the thing that you're trying to prevent is going to hit you at the time that you're actually inoculated. So, again, we don't want to go down the rabbit hole. We'll be here another hour.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I just thought it was an interesting story because I know that it's such a nuanced topic. And I don't, just because things are complicated and hard to talk about, I don't necessarily want to stay away from them.
Yeah.
Because I think that it's the complicated and hard to talk about topics that need to be talked about more. And this idea of like, okay, like people's livelihood being taken away to do something like a mandated, like, is that okay with most people? And what I'm finding is that it really isn't. It really isn't okay for most people.
And that's what I'm talking about when I say coercion is not okay.
Well, mandating and coercion is different.
In this case, it's the same because you're basically.
If someone says to come into my establishment, you need a vaccine card, that's coercion. Not mandating you lose your job if you don't get, like, that's coercion versus mandate. Like, you don't get to go to a concert, then you would be coerced into getting a vaccine versus if you don't do this, you lose your job.
It's about perspective, I suppose, as to who feels that they're being coerced,
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's okay for an employer to say, I would really prefer you get a vaccine, and if you don't, you have to do these other things.
Yeah,
and that could be viewed as coercion, but it's not.
But then I would also
from home if you're not an essential worker. Work for you could.
My health, my personal health decisions are my own damn business, though. And so it's there's going to be
dealing with a workplace, because then the workplace is responsible for your health, and then the workplace gets in trouble if they're not being responsible.
Okay, I can see that point of view perspective. but at the
Mhm.
same time,
Yeah, it's a sticky
it shouldn't,
situation because employers
Yeah.
are just as responsible. And it's like an individual can be responsible for their own health and their own body, but when you're in an employer situation and you're responsible for everybody else that enters into your building, that starts to become a little bit.
Yeah, I think what's more irritating to me is that we have health professionals, or at least people who pretend to be health professionals, telling us things that may or may not be actually accurate.
Speaking of sticky situations, Kathy Power shares unvaccinated folks carry a heavier viral load.
That's not necessarily true all the time.
She said load. Can you let me get my Beavis and Butthead joke out?
Shut up, Beavis.
Yeah, but it's a good conversation to have. It's an important conversation to have. As you can see, even our own, small cohort here has some differences in how they view how things should and should not be done. But I think at the end of the day, most of us can agree that like work mandates for vaccinations is unworkable.
No,
it doesn't work.
Agreed.
And that's where I stand on that. And so that settlement makes sense in my mind.
And if we had a nationalized healthcare system where profit wasn't a motive, we probably wouldn't be in this mess.
I agree with
Because
that as well.
We wouldn't have all these profit hungry drug companies trying to push things on us when other solutions or preventative measures already exist.
Mm-hmm.
Yes!
So I'm glad that we got to talk about that one, even though, like I said, it's a hard conversation to have, an important one as well. And then the last story I just wanted to bring up is that our tool library is growing, you guys. It is growing.
Yes.
So check out the tool library.
She said tool.
Yeah, tool.
I'll show you. Anyway. So it opened in 2019. We talked about it a couple months ago. It is expanding largely. It went from 150 members to 3,000 members presently.
Whoa.
So it's amazing, you guys. And it's just such an incredible opportunity, A, to not create more waste in the world, but B, to have every single thing that you need available to you and your family. If you need to do yard work, if you're doing a special cooking thing, I don't know what you would cook that special. Maybe you need a fondue maker or something. I don't know.
Not everybody has a crock
all
pot.
of that. Not everybody has a crock pot. Exactly. So definitely if this is something that could fulfill your life or make your life more fulfilling, please check this place out and
cool.
Be a part of the community. It's very cool. You can pay anywhere from $0 up to $400 a month for your membership, which is it's called gift pricing. My business actually does that too. So if you're interested in looking into my business, you can join as a member at $0 all the way up to $93. So I think it's awesome.
And who isn't interested in looking into Kira's business? Oh, the innuendos are just flying all over the place.
Yeah, my business is hard to look into. I'm a kind of a private person.
I couldn't help it. It was just too big.
I beg your pardon. What did you say?
Sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. I don't blush easily, so
I know you don't. That's why I can toss these jokes out there and hope no one's being offended. It's just too easy an opportunity to lighten things up in the face of our dystopian society just continuing on into oblivion.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. And we do. We need those opportunities to lighten things up. Run, Kira, run. All right, you guys, I will be running because I am 7 minutes over my goal time to complete our show tonight. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Ed, for joining me. I so appreciate both of you so much. You guys, so much behind the scenes effort goes into putting together this show. And I do it with the help of Jerry and Ed. And so I really, really appreciate it, you guys. It just makes everything go smoothly. And I'm grateful that I have your eyes on the news all week so that I can be sure to bring the most comprehensive and robust show on Tuesday night. So
she can
thank
be
you
the
guys.
hostess with the mostest.
That's right. That's right. With a very purposeful.
With the hip, trendy racing stripes. Hey, you're all ready for NASCAR.
She's streamlined.
I am. I'm offended you're not offended. LOL. JK. All right. Awesome. You guys. Thank you, everybody, in our chat for joining us. Roger Meadows just tipped us $2, 75%, reporting 62.7%. Oops, sorry, my bad. Is no on Kansas. Is that to put in abortion constitutional protections? That's right, Roger, right? 75%, 62.7% is a no on Kansas to put in constitutional protections for abortion. I think that is the update. Roger, I'm going to be concluding this stream in like 15 short seconds. So if I'm wrong on that, go ahead and correct me real quick. Otherwise, I believe Kansas is looking a little bleak and so far as putting those protections into their constitution. So thank you, everybody, for joining us in the chat. And thank you for all of the super chats tonight. That was super exciting. And I appreciate you all. And I cannot wait to see you all again next week. I believe this Friday, Jerry will not be available for the show. Oh.
I forgot. Yeah, I'm going to go see Joe Rogan. So I'm not sure if if we find someone to cover hosting duties, I just won't be here. It maybe someone with that, or maybe Ed will. We're not sure yet, but I'll be back the following week. Just want to let people know what's going on.
Look at that memory.
As her internet freezes her memory. There she goes. Okay.
All right. Yep, exactly. I better get out of here before I get in more trouble. Bye, everybody. Have a great night, and we'll see you next week.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.